Fantasy Six-Pack Hour with your hosts, Joe Bob and AJ Applegarth.
All right, welcome to the Fantasy Six-Pack Hour. My name is Joe Bond, founder of FantasySixPack.net. We just moved with me as usual, AJ Applegarth and Dap Scout. What's going on, guys?
Hey, what's going on?
What up?
I love how Mike in the background always switches it around. So
yeah, like I have to be on the bottom. It's okay. Apparently I'm a bottom. It's fine. I get it.
We already know you're bottom. Come on.
That was in college. All right, go
and we're starting off well. So
that's why I do it.
Old habits die hard, Dap. It's okay.
Yep. All right. So tonight we're going to be doing our shortstop draft strategy and preview. But before we jump into that, just want to remind everybody to hit that like button, that subscribe button, leave those comments. We appreciate it. We love hearing from you. And of course, jump over to fantasysixpack.net, become an all-access member. You're going to get access to our award-winning rankings, our draft cheat sheet, our projections, our DFS advice during the season, and access directly to us on Discord, where we're there to answer your customly questions, and that's where you get all the real action, guys. It's awesome, and especially the DFS guys, they're just printing money right now, man. Dave, Eddie, and that crew, they're on fire. So, hey, AJ,
all right,
say a little something about Fantrax.
I would like to offer the opportunity for you to join Fantrax. If you have not moved your leagues over to Fantrax yet, get on it. Get over to Fantrax. Another thing that I just thought of earlier tonight with Fantrax in doing a mock draft, the nice thing about it is that they have the ability to move your guys throughout the draft. You can take a guy who has multi-position eligibility, and then you get him set in that one spot. Well, Fantrax allows you to move them within the draft. So if you have a guy with second and outfield, but you want another second baseman, you can just drop him to the outfield, and then you have that spot open. So it helps while you're looking through your mock drafts, through your regular drafts. That's obviously more important than the mocks. It's a great site, though. In general, you got tons of player activity. You got tons of players being added to the pool every day. I'm still getting notifications like daily of new players that just keep getting added. So great site, great UI. Go ahead and move your leagues over there. Get away from these other sites that are outdated, boring, and just not going to do it for your league. That's all I got to say.
Yep.
Fantrax
Fantrax.com/fantasy six-pack is where you go to sign up for your free league. It's well worth it, everybody. So, all right. Without further ado, let's bring in our guest of the week, Mr. Howard Bender, Fantasy Alarm. What's going on, man?
What's up, guys? Thanks for having me, man. Always great to do some MLB previews with you guys. I do football with you guys too. So thanks for having me. It's great to be here. And I just followed at Dap Scout on Twitter because I wasn't apparently following him before. So sorry about that, Dap.
Dude, it's fine, man. And on top of that, the fact that I get the Howard to follow me. I'm telling my kids. I'm going to tell my grandkids. I can't wait. This is awesome.
Joe told me I had to. Like, I follow Garth, so I'm like, well, if I got to follow Garth, I guess I got to follow Dap too, right?
Well, exactly. Hey, man, and also the money that I slid you. Thank you, Howard.
It was in the contract he had to sign before coming on the show. You must follow Dap Scout.
Part of the rider.
That was not the right pocket, by the way.
Yes. I've got something in my front pocket for you.
Alrighty. So, doing some shortstop tonight. AJ.
Of a shortstop.
All right. Let's start it off here.
Let's go, man. Let's just jump right into it here. So, obviously, Mr. Bobby Witt is a clear-cut top 5 pick this year. He's sitting at 5.2 ADP on Fantrax. 2.5 if you take out the ESPN from the consensus, because for whatever reason their point system, I guess, has him lower. Howard, we're going to start with you. Do you agree, or do you think that he should be higher or lower than that ADP?
No, I think he's fine where he is. 5, 6, fifth, sixth pick, whatever you want to do, with that. The one thing, because listen, the power is real, the speed is real, the plate discipline is real. He's an absolute stud. Can't say anything bad about Bobby Witt except for the fact that he plays for the Royals. So I don't know what his RBI total is going to look like, and I don't know what his runs scored are going to look like. But I think every other category you're perfectly fine with. And, I think it's just, a perfect spot for him, because I think that, he's young enough that he can build off that. Can he build off 30 home runs? Yes. Can he swipe 50 bags? Yes. It's just going to be a matter of these schlubs around him in the lineup.
Yeah. Joe, thoughts on Mr. Witt?
Yeah, so as you alluded to, like ESPN, and it didn't dawn on me until we just got done with this mock that we were in, that ESPN's default is a points league. So that's why the ADP is much different than everybody else's. It just, yeah. So I'm actually happy with him, probably around 3. I would probably take J-Rod ahead of him. Again, for a lot of the reasons Howard said. I think everything is legit for him. He's a super talented player, but he does get hampered by the team around him. Projections here on our site have him at over 100 runs, 90 RBI. Like, if he hits this, he's probably the number 2 player in the league. Like, J-Rod would be hard pressed to match all of this.
Yeah.
But I'm not buying into the 102 runs, that kind of thing, unless that offense just really surprises people. I just think that it's not totally realistic here. But yeah, I do like him as a player. He's phenomenal for roto leagues, man. He gives you a little bit of everything.
Yeah. Dap, thoughts?
Yeah, look, there's nothing I can say that everybody else hasn't said already. I think the one thing it's a positive and a negative, right? Where he plays for the Royals, going from the Midwest. The stadium was great in the 80s. It's archaic now, but the great thing is if he hits a slump, the only person who's really going to notice is fantasy baseball owners, right? They're going to be like, oh my God, but it's not going to be like anybody screaming at him from the stands. So I think that's kind of a great cushion there. Now, is he going to be driven in all the time? No, of course not. But he gets a chance to really continue to just mash. And if he hits a dry spell or where he's not hitting, it's not like you're like, oh no, what's he going to do? He's got a great division to kind of really tear through as well. I just think all the things are pointing up. But I'm a little hesitant in the sense of what else is out there, right? Like Acuna's, head and shoulders number 1, and then you have Witt, and then maybe about 3-4 other kind of people you could argue for at that position. I'm sorry, at that draft spot. But hey, if you get Witt, you're not gonna be like, oh no, darn it,
Yeah.
It's a premium position, premium player. Love it. I think we're really just kind of splitting hairs here at this point.
Yeah. Pretty much. The guys behind him, you got Sal Perez and Vinny P, and then Renfroe sitting in the 5 hole. So I don't know if I'm buying the 102 runs either, unless his home run total goes up closer to 40. Then maybe he has a chance to hit over 100, in the run category. But either way, I'm happy with him where he's getting drafted. So love it. Let's move on here. Let's talk some Philly, because obviously I have to throw a Philly question in every week. So, Dap, we're going to start with you here, but which Trae Turner do you think we will see out of the gate this year? The pre-standing ovation Trae Turner, which was a 235 average, 10 homers, 34 ribbies, and 21 stolen bases in 107 games, which was through August 3rd, or the post-standing ovation Trae, which was a 337 average, 16 homers, 42 ribbies, 9 stolen, and a 1.037 OPS in 48 games.
Yeah, so here's the thing. A lot of the underlying metrics were still great with Trae, right? And if you're in a dynasty league, which we're obviously not talking about, but if you're in a dynasty league, that first part of the season was kind of your buy low window. His sprint speed was still where it didn't drop. So the speed was still there, which is a big part of his game. But those last 200 plate appearances really saved his season. The thing is, with season long, you were freaking out, struggling, trying to find out where to kind of fit in before he just kind of went off those last 200 plate appearances. I would be hesitant as heck to put money on him, but it's going to depend on where he's going. Would I get Trae if he's outside the top 10? Absolutely. Outside the top 20, I'm all in. Because again, you're getting somebody who didn't look hurt, speed looked great. Kind of those two. The first thing you kind of look at with a Trae Turner type is that speed. If that's still going on, then I still think the sky's the limit there. And he's in the Phillies lineup, which unlike the Royals, it definitely has a lot of high hitters. So I'm cautiously optimistic. And I have a couple shares already in the first couple drafts I've been in already.
All right. Howard, thoughts on Turner this year?
I'm in. I love where he's going right now. Like I just did we just did a Fantasy Alarm 12-team mock draft with a couple of our subscribers and a bunch of analysts. And I had the 9th pick and I took Aaron Judge first. And I was like, later on in the draft, I'll get my speed. And Trae Turner fell to me with that in that second round. I was like, you're kidding me. Like, boom, end of story. Listen, he went from Washington to LA and back over to Philly. The pressure of the contract signing and everything that goes through it. And let's face facts. Philly, it shocked the crap out of me that Philly, of all places, were like, let's just give him a standing O anyway and see if that helps.
Exactly.
It did. You ever see Trae Turner in that first half? Like when he was standing at first base and thinking about stealing, he'd flinch because he thought somebody was going to throw a battery at his head.
Yeah, the battery.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
So
Exactly.
I can't blame him for looking over his shoulder like that when they gave him the standing O, and that turned his whole season around. It really did. The confidence level. We forget that these guys are human beings. They're not just stats on the page. So, making the move, another cross-country move, the pressure of that contract, of making all that money, knowing that you're, the media is a circus in Philly like it is everywhere in the Northeast, in New York or Boston. So, I think he responded beautifully with that. I applaud the crowd and the fans for doing that. And I sincerely hope that people kind of sleep on Trae Turner and he falls in drafts, because I'm totally in on him for sure in this one here.
Wait, real quick. You started off a draft, Judge Turner. Did you just take that picture of that draft board and just frame it? That's insane.
And then I took Ellie De La Cruz next.
Oh my God.
Another player we will be talking about later.
Zach Gallen and Tariq Skubal. This was the first 5 picks of my draft.
That's like Christmas list right there. I'm my God.
Sit in the corner for my next 3 picks and touch myself obscenely. I'll just put it on auto the rest of the way.
So we now have to go into YouTube and say the not safe for kids episode.
Thanks,
Howard. I didn't say any curse words. There were no bad words in there.
No, there was nothing there.
Come on.
Unky Bender is saying completely nice things.
Past 10 o'clock. If Comedy Central can do it, we can do it. Okay? I don't want to hear it. So, Joe, what are your thoughts on Trae and his ovation?
Yeah, not much out here. I've got him ahead of the projections, or ahead of the ADP in our projections here. Oops, I thought I had the projections, but I guess I didn't. Wrong slide.
Whoops.
But yeah, you can see here. Look, I don't know if he's quite as good as his August and September, but he's nowhere near as bad as he was earlier. But what's gonna happen, right, is there's gonna be people who had that bad taste in their mouth from last year, because he, burned them, right? In roto leagues and in head-to-head leagues. You probably drafted him 2nd, 3rd overall, right? And you didn't make it to the playoffs in those leagues, right? Or you probably weren't finishing very high in your standings because Trae Turner was not a good first-round pick last year. until the last 2 months of the season, and he didn't make up for it, in total. So I'm back. I'm all in on him. I mean, that whole Phillies team, like Real Muto and Harper, everybody kind of just like breathed a sigh of relief when that happened, and like everybody just started playing so much better as we saw. Like they just kind of stormed through too. So did very well in the playoffs, obviously. So I think we're you'd be hurting yourself if he falls to you at the end of the first round. I think that's a very nice pick.
Yeah, I will say, obviously, as the resident Phillies fan, that it was very hard to watch him play, knowing how good of a player he's been throughout his career, and to come in here and put up that performance early on in the year. I mean, really for the first 3-4 months of the year, it was tough to watch. And, listening to sports talk radio from Philly, it's just all they did was bash this guy until
huge
the one guy.
You never listened to local radio.
No, I know, and I'm
Philly sports radio. They're the
now.
meanest people.
I am. I'm just done. I can't do it anymore. Ever since really the Eagles started going downhill, it was horrific. And I've got a long commute in the morning, so I have to entertain myself with something. But I'm moving back to satellite, moving back to Sirius XM and Howard and your cohorts there, because that's the times I'm driving, and I'm like, this is way better, and it's more pertinent to what I want to hear. This is the stuff. So, but the standing O clearly ignited him, and it was the brotherly love of Philly as opposed to the, as Joe would put it, snowballs in Santa's face. Hatred and whatnot. So it was great. And,
I'll do it to yourself.
I love it.
Saying.
Wait, Snowballs in Santa's Face sounds like the best punk rock band name ever. Just saying.
With their new album,
tomorrow.
Testicular Fortitude.
Yeah. Energizer Bunny. Okay, go. Sorry.
Yes. So anyway, that's where we're at. I'm all in on Trae this year again. And again, the last point I'll make on it before I shut up about Philly, Castellanos did the same thing last year. He got here, he had a slow start. He wasn't what we expected from the contract we were paying him. And then coming into last year, he really turned it around. I mean, he didn't get a standing O, but he turned it around and he started off the season pretty hot. He kind of tailed off a little towards the end, but Turner, better quality player overall. So I'm all in on that. All right. Moving into our next question here. If I can find the freaking agenda.
Just read the slide.
Well, let me ask you a question here. What do you think?
We're doing this one.
Lots of talented shortstops going off the board, 3rd, 4th round. You got Seager at 25 ADP, Lindor's at 28 points.
We may have said Howard. Howard the pro stepping in.
Well, I'm just saying, Gunnar Henderson, 33.4, Ellie De La Cruz at 38.2, or Bo Bichette at 40.2. I mean, listen, assuming you guys are targeting shortstop in this round, which player from this group would you take for your squad? We'll start with Joe. Joe, who do you like in this? No, sorry, Joe Depp.
You know what, Howard? It's like watching Susan Sarandon. It's just amazing, Oscar-winning performance. Thank you.
Which Susan Sarandon? Are you talking like Rocky Horror Picture Show Susan Sarandon?
That's the one I was thinking.
Well, obviously, from just your looks, it's Rocky Horror Picture Show. From the overall acting talent, it's much later in her career. But you know what? This one's an easy one for me, right? Because of where he's being picked and what he did last season, Francisco Lindor. Considering the cluster that the Mets were last year, I think somebody needs to check the pulse of the fantasy community to realize that this guy put up 30-30 last year. I mean, you wouldn't think it because nobody really talked about it. He was faster than he was in 6-7 years. He had a sprint speed of 28.2 feet per second, which is pretty fast if you don't know. And on top of that, he did all of this and he required off-season surgery. So something wasn't exactly right with him when he had to get some, elbow bone spurs taken out of his elbow. I think the arrows are just pointing up, and I'm already seeing him still going too low. It's like people didn't actually check his stats or just assuming he wasn't good. So for me, Francisco Lindor, considering where he's going and what he put up last year, I'm all over that.
Yeah, I was gonna say Lindor or Seager. Honestly,
no, you weren't.
Seager, yeah, shut up. If we knew Seager was gonna actually like stay healthy the whole year, I would hands down pick him. He's just a monster when he's on the field. That batting average, it clearly eclipses everybody else on this list. But yeah, Lindor for everything that you said, is like right on. Like this guy's gonna give you help in every category.
Thanks for stealing my work, but go ahead.
Yeah. Howard, which one of these guys are you interested in? We obviously know you like Ellie.
I do like Ellie, but I was just taking Ellie because he was falling so far from where he usually goes, where I've seen him go, that I was like, well, you kind of have to do it. And he's got great upside. But I do think that, what we saw in the second half from Ellie was a little bit like, all right, now I got to see what kind of adjustments that he makes there. I mean, if I'm choosing out of this group, I'm choosing Lindor, but, for the sake of like breaking down other guys, my concern for Seager is the fact that this hernia surgery has kept him out of spring training the entire time. And he'll probably like only get like a good week's worth of at bats before he has to like hit the field in the season. So I think he kind of gets off to a slow start. Bo Bichette, I just want to brush his hair. So handsome.
Yeah.
Give me Gunnar Henderson actually out of this crew because listen, I think the power is also definite real deal. I think his batting average will, probably, I think he settles in more in like the 270 range, but with like a 350 OBP. But he does flash a little bit of speed. He can get you some double-digit steals here. And I just think that the O's are a super exciting team. I'm a diehard Yankees fan, and it sort of pains me to say this, but I mean, with what they've got going on right now with Jackson Holiday joining the squad and, they've got more on the way. They've got a kid in the minors named Kobe Mayo, who's probably going to end up allowing them to trade Jordan Westberg, who's going to man the hot corner this year. So they've got, like when the Reds had all of that momentum and all the youngsters were coming up and everybody was vibing off of each other, I feel like the O's are going to end up, in that same spot with this young crew here this year. So Gunnar Henderson, give me 30 home runs from him. Give me 10 stolen bases. If he can hit me 260 to 270, I'm a happy camper.
Yeah.
I love me some Kobe, man.
And now to top it all off, the O's might get an owner who actually will allow them to spend money. So careful.
Yeah.
Real quick, I want to ask you guys what your opinion is on Bo Bichette, not his hair, but his actual like performance in the field. Like I'm kind of unsure on this guy. Like I'm not really sure he's gonna be this like phenom player that we all thought we were getting from his early career. Howard, what do you think?
I mean, I dig him. I think, it was a really weird year. The one concern that I have about Bo Bichette, because I think the power's fine. I think the batting average will be fine. Vladimir Guerrero was atrocious last year. And I think that plays a big part of what happens to the top of that lineup. So, but the one thing that kind of concerned me was 3 straight years of declining stolen bases.
Yes.
I got Bo 3 years ago because he was going to steal me 20 plus bags on the regular. So 13 or 9 just ain't going to cut it. So that's the one concern that I've got here. But overall, I still think, great hit tool on this kid. No problem.
Yeah. And it was even weirder to see the steals drop from 2022 to 2023 with the new stolen base rules. Like he was just like, I don't want to run. Like, what? How old are you? Dap, what's your thoughts, man?
No, he's obviously going the wrong way. He's kind of slowing down there as well. He's like low, like bottom 30% or so with his sprint speeds. But my thing is with Toronto is when things were going well and everybody's like, just put a kid that has a father that played in the MLB in Toronto and they're gonna take off. It was all vibes, right? If when Guerrero is hitting or Bichette and everybody's high-fiving and of course combing Bichette's hair and helping each other, to me it just like you said, like if Vlad's not hitting and if they're not just bashing the ball, it seems like it goes bad quick. But I will just mention one person because I have just a deep, dark need for him not to be playing. Kevin Biggio should not be starting on that team. And I think a lot of the issues with Bo Bichette are because of Kevin Biggio. In fact, I think he's robbing. Like, I think he's stealing. Anyways, there's just no reason he should be starting. And there's a wonderful man who I talked about last show that should be starting. I can't believe they didn't, start Schneider more because they kept putting Biggio in. And that's the reason why Bichette was bad. It's because Biggio is playing. I'm just saying.
Mike, we need to make a new ticker, something about Kevin Biggio with Dap. For him and timestamp it every single, we need to have a counter of how many times that brings up Kevin Biggio. I don't know, what is this guy? I know he's kind of sucked, but what does this guy do to you, man? Did he kick your dog? Jesus,
every time he does. That's
shit on my house.
It's not even him, right? It's the fact that he's blocking Schneider, man. Schneider was went crazy last year.
What's going on?
He went crazy last year. He was like Howard Bender on the radio. He was going off. He was going crazy. And then what happens? The Blade is like, you have a hot bat. Let's put you on the bench and let's pull out Biggio. I mean, Biggio must have blackmail on the GM. There's no reason he should be starting.
He doesn't. And I think the obvious point here is that Kevin has lit one too many bags of shit on fire outside of your door, and you've stomped on every single one of them, Dap. Every single one.
He doesn't follow me on Twitter. That's the problem.
You don't learn from your own mistakes, and Kevin is taking advantage.
Are you my wife? This sounds exactly like a conversation I had with her earlier today.
So stop stepping on the shit bags.
Don't put it out with your boots, Dap.
Or buy better rubbers for your shit stomping. Okay, then you can just you can fling it. You got to walk out. You just grab the bull by the horns, grab that bag of shit on fire, throw it at him as he's running away, laughing at you because he's stopped. He's standing right there filming you. I've seen the film. It's on YouTube.
This sounds like experience talking, doesn't it?
I know. It's
yeah, but the difference is I did it after the first one. Dap's 6-7 in at this point at least, and he's still just stepping on the bag. So anyway, speaking of stepping on the bag, let's move on.
Great caveat.
No, that's a transition anybody was looking for, but sure.
Yeah,
that's what I'm here for.
Segue like butter.
CJ Abrams does not step on shit bags unless they're in Washington. I mean, what are we thinking for this guy for 2024? Are we buying him at his current ADP of 58.2, or is he being overhyped as a top 10 shortstop? Howard, we'll start with you.
I mean, I don't know if he's being overhyped because, I'm not sure about the power. That's the thing. He can steal bags. Okay, great. But is he going to hit 18 home runs? Is that going to develop into 20 home runs? Or is he going to pull back and be more of a 12 to 15 home run guy on the steady and stealing bases? To me, he's kind of he's like the Nico Horner of shortstops, right?
Oh, and there we go. Right on cue, Howard, as we cover you up. I'm sorry.
It's okay. I'm fine. But you know what I'm saying? Nico Horner, he's you don't draft Nico Horner for anything but his stolen bases. And you only do that if let's say you started off with Aaron Judge or Juan Soto or Yordan Alvarez, somebody who doesn't steal bases. And so then you're okay, let me get a base stealer here and cover second base. So I'll draft Nico Horner. I feel like CJ Abrams is of that ilk as well. So if you start off with power and no speed with your first round pick, by the time you get to the fourth round, fifth round, and all the top shortstops are already gone, you could still grab Abrams and get those stolen bases and hope that the power upside happens. So I'm not 100% sure, but I mean, could he stick, 15 home runs, 40 stolen bases? If he can do that, then I think he's worth where he's going.
All right. Makes sense. We will go into Joe for this next one because I know you love you some CJ.
Yeah, I mean, I'm all in. Where he's being drafted, I totally agree. But he does have to fit the team need. You're not taking him if you took a Trae Turner in the first round. Obviously shortstops, but you take a speed guy in the first round. you probably aren't going to go after speed later. I get it. But you got heavy power. You take an Aaron Judge, that kind of type in the beginning, and then you need some speed later. Yeah, I don't know if 20 home runs is in his future, but he could get 15, 16, 17. That's totally doable. I don't see any reason why he's not going to steal 40 to 45 again. I think the 38 projection is pretty low. With the new rules, like I'm kind of looking at all the stolen base projections again, and across the board, and just seeing they're all sort of under projected. Like considering what we saw last year, I don't know if they're just expecting it, like everybody to be like, yeah, see, we told you we could do it, and then there's just not this year. Like I don't know why that would change. Like they're still going to run rampant. Like nothing's changing. Pitchers aren't going to be able to like stop this anytime soon. So, yeah, I mean, he took a huge step forward last year. I think, the Nationals are kind of like the Royals, like their lineup isn't going to be great, but, so that's going to hurt him a little bit, but, he's going to be a great, probably 2.5 category guy, stolen bases, runs, with kind of mediocre RBI and home runs and average. So kind of 2.5, maybe 3 if you combine all 3 of those last categories into one.
You heard it here first, folks. 2.5-ish categories will win you your league. That's what you need. That's all you need, according to Joe. So
look, I
want to. I'm throwing the red flag on that one. Let's watch the replay. I did not say that.
You just said that.
Yeah. So look, I would love CJ Abrams if he was putting up Nico Hoerner average, right? Nico Horner's average is like in the 280s, and you're looking at 245 right now. So if CJ Abrams picked that up, then I would be all over this. So the thing is that his barrel percentage increased, his exit velocity increased, his even had extra walks, but he was still from a WRC plus perspective, and as you know, 100 is league average. He was at 90 still, so he's not. I think there's just so many other places he could go. I mean, if I can get the home runs, but he's killing me in average, and okay, you're giving me steals, but so it looks like you're almost going to the Ruiz of Oakland's Ruiz. If I need somebody just to kill me and steal, give me steals, but kill me in average. So 18 home runs is great, but I don't trust it. Right? If he get over the 15 mark again. Awesome, but I don't think I'm putting him on my squad, at least not until I see what's going on. But yeah, the band shift seemed to help him the most. I saw those lefties. He was up in at like 15, 20 points against lefties last year versus the year before. Only the person that really, of course, enjoyed the band shift was Seager, but I'm just not a CJ Abrams fan at all. I'm sorry. Don't throw things.
That's fine. I don't know if I'm really on board with him as much this year either. If he falls to me in the right spot, I think I'm okay taking him. But for 2.5-ish categories, I think I'm looking elsewhere for the position. I'd rather go out earlier and get one of these other guys we've already talked about, or potentially just punt the position and wait. So. All right, next question here. We've going to the Great Wales Vagina of San Diego, and we've got a couple of different shortstop eligible players here that we'd like to talk about. Which one of these guys is more appealing in 2024? Dap, we'll start with you. We've got Ha-Seong Kim at an 84 ADP or Xander Bogaerts at 97.2.
Okay, if those ADPs are actually correct in the sense of
I don't know if they are.
No. What I mean is if that actually happened, then
these numbers are made up. Actually.
Okay, well, even better. I am all in on Kim. I think just the world of him. I think he's stealing bases. I think his bat's legit. I just don't know if there's all kinds of trade rumors if the Padres are going to trade him away. I don't think it's going to happen. But they could definitely ask for a king's ransom from him. I just see constant improvements there. His defense is getting better. I love Kim. Look, I'm a Xander Bogaerts apologist for the longest time. I love him, but for this question and from a fantasy baseball perspective, I think Kim, which I've seen just from my drafts that I've seen, he's going about 2 or 3 rounds later. People are still drafting Xander by name recognition. I am definitely in on Kim, and I also see him as both second base and shortstop eligible as well, which is of course fantastic. So I love dual eligibility.
All right. Let's see, Howard. What do you think?
I want to show that meme where Pam Beasley's like, it's the same picture. They kind of are, right? I mean, Kim steals more bags, but is he going to steal 38 bases?
Right.
Well, it's like similar power. Kim right now has the multi-position eligibility, which is delicious, but Xander Bogaerts, who's listed as a shortstop right now, 10 games into the season, is going to pick up that second base eligibility.
Yep. Good point.
So that helps a ton because second base blows as far as a position goes. So you could actually grab both these idiots and make them your middle infield at some point.
Yeah, right.
But I mean, listen, if I was struggling with stolen bases, I want to make sure that I was adding steals. I would probably just, take Kim. And if I was looking for, maybe a potential uptick in power, because I do think Xander's got more power in him. I think he's still a 20 home run bat. But I mean, so right now the slight tilt towards Kim, but I'm not going to hate on Xander.
Yeah, Joe.
I don't really have a whole lot else to add. Like, again, I kind of agree. They're kind of the same guy. It's more of what do you need when their kind of name comes up on the list, right? You need steals, you go Kim. If you need a little bit more power, slightly better average, you go Xander. That's kind of it.
Yeah, and
neither one of them are like targets of mine. Let's put it that way.
Yeah, to piggyback off of Howard's, Pam Beasley reference here. The picture is like one guy's like up in the stance of running, the other guy is down in the stance of running, right. and that guy would be Kim because he's running. But it's still the same damn picture. These guys are basically exactly the same. And if you really end up drafting both of them, so help you God, I don't think you were winning your league. But maybe you'll surprise with the rest of your draft being much better than the brain fart you had when you had to do this. But if not, kudos to you. You sit on that flagpole and get some lube. All right, moving on to the next one. We've got.
I like that. I just wanted Dad's face on that comment there. He's just going. I don't really know what the hell that was supposed to mean.
Have you never sat on a flagpole, Dap?
I mean, he had lube. At least he had lube. It wasn't like a courtesy spit.
Exactly. I mean, apparently you've never rough ridden a flagpole. So, congratulations. I can't say the same. All right. So moving on to
the bullies were so mean to Garth growing up, weren't they?
They were. They absolutely.
Oh God. That knitting circle.
No,
God,
we are now in therapy with at Applegarth Algar. You've brought this out, Howard. I hope this
fantasy therapy with Howard Bender. Oh my God! There you go. Boom, done.
I still think
rub some dirt on it, you crybaby.
Tripping balls is better, but. I will say that I'm coming out. I don't know if anybody knows this other than all of the women that were involved in it. There was a point in elementary school where I got surrounded by a circle of girls on the recess field and was like spinning because I didn't know which one was coming after me. You may think this is going somewhere else, but it doesn't. They had this whole thing set up to come in, and one of them pantsed me in the middle of the circle of women who barely any of them I even knew. And it was total bullying at its best. And I don't think I've ever recovered from that. So
what grade was this?
Third, fourth, maybe
last year, Howard.
Oh, so I was going to say
this was like 6 days ago. They
pantsed you because they were like, "This dude's 19. What's it look like?"
The cops are here. Let's get him to stop running.
Exactly. Yes. No, there were no sirens going off in fourth grade. I hadn't hit my quote unquote peak yet that early. So yeah, but it was something I don't think I'll ever live down. And
I'm not drafting AJ in my fantasy lineup with this. That's for sure. I'm for sure not drafting him.
None of those girls were either.
Yeah.
Until now. No, they're still not. But
speaking of shortstops,
yes, let's go to Oneil
or average
Cruz.
stops, shall we just?
Let's just. Hey, I mean, I'm a tick above average. I mean, come on, give me some credit here. I do nothing but good things on this show. I pimp fan tracks. I talk a lot. So that's what podcasts are about, right? So I apologize to our listeners for that rant. And Joe probably
that wasn't a rant. That was like something that we're gonna be like. He needs to go to the cry room now for a little while, and he'll be back in a few moments.
I don't though, because
everybody, please go to the GoFundMe I've set up for AJ to help him with his therapy. You can go now to help AJ find Jesus at GoFundMe.com.
Like Jesus is who he needs to find.
Jesus.
Good luck.
I'm sorry, Jesus.
That is not who I need to find. No, that's not going to help. Sorry.
Go to my rabbi. He'll take 20% off for you.
Yeah. I don't need any more taken off. That's the problem. All right. Anyway, Oneil Cruz. Let's go. Tons of talent, tons of upside, but does all of that outweigh these freaking ankle injuries that he can't seem to get over? I mean, is he somebody that you're actually trying to target as a shortstop 1 for your team in 2024 based on the current ADP of around 66? Joe, we'll start with you. You haven't talked in a while. I feel like, we've just kind of shunned you.
I was just enjoying the show.
I
don't know.
Fourth grade.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, I don't think he's like somebody I'm going in the draft being like, I'm kind of planning on taking him around, ADP 60 here. But like, I mean, yeah, we know the injury in 2022 held him out for a while. And obviously last year that the freak injury sliding in the home plate knocked him out super early in the season. Super unfortunate. I'm kind of just throwing that one out the window. Like, that was a freak accident. Like, so I'm giving him a pass on that one. I'm just hoping he can bounce back. We know the talent is there, right? I mean, home runs, speed, he could be a 30-30 guy easily. He's going to hurt you a little bit in the batting average area, but everything else is there for this guy. And so if there's anybody who's going to, like, at the end of the season, everybody's going to look and be like, man, how come we didn't take this guy like the first 3 rounds? He could easily be one of those guys.
Okay.
Yeah.
Dap?
Yeah. So, I mean, look, so some of the amazing, where he was headed with his stats. I mean, you could easily look at him as having 80 home runs just on the 9 games that he played last season. I'm kidding. But so here's the thing, right? You can't. Last season he showed that he's striking out less and walking less. Again, 9 games. But if you look at anybody here in the later rounds, and by later rounds I mean not in the first 3 rounds, rank of 50 or more that could end up in the top 5. This is Oneil Cruz. I love just the talent. I just obviously hope he stays healthy, but the arrow is just pointing up. I love to have him. If I have to have him as like my middle infielder, hopefully not my shortstop, and hopefully getting a lot of these, Xander Bogaerts or Kim's types that could at least fill multiple positions. Then absolutely, Oneil Cruz is that great lottery ticket that you want to have on your team, and that's how you end up winning, right? You have to take at least a couple risks, and the Cruz is definitely the type of person that I would love to grab. 3rd, 4th round. Oh, sorry, 4th, 5th round.
All right, Howard.
I mean, it's interesting. Like, I'm a big fan of Oneil Cruz. I do think that he has a ceiling that is way up there. I really do. But I'm not going to talk about, injuries are injuries, and everybody is, susceptible to them over and over again. I feel like Cruz this year as he kind of works his way back from everything and everything that happens. And, you know, I mean, let's not forget the Pirates are also a garbage team. I feel like Cruz could be like, I don't know, maybe 25 is probably where we're kind of looking for him. And you know, he's going to do that with like a 250 average probably, because he still hasn't, hammered out the strikeouts. So while I like Oneil Cruz, I mean, his ADP where he's at right now is at 87.2. You said it was. I'd rather wait like 60 picks and just take Anthony Volpe, who already showed you that he can go 2020 the year before, right? And is he going to hit that crappy batting average? No, he's not going to have that crappy batting average again. Jim Bowden and I did an interview with Aaron Boone. We talked about some of the mechanical adjustments that he made, the attitude adjustments that he was making, also who he was talking to in this spring about, worrying more about his on base than he was worried about hitting for power. So I think Volpe is a kid who is, kind of on the rise here. So Oneil Cruz, great. If you're in a keeper league, yes, grab Oneil Cruz and take him forever. But if you're talking redraft right now, I'll wait the 60 picks, the 5-round discount there, and just take Anthony Volpe.
Yeah, I definitely.
Estrada sitting there too. I like him down there.
Yep. Yeah, so these ADPs that I originally was reading off were from a few days ago, and obviously they have changed. I did not have a chance to
took
update
out
them.
the
No,
ESPN
the 80 is right,
the
or the
61 in there.
Which one?
So,
okay.
So I just redid it. It took out the because I just realized the ESPN ADPs are so wacky compared to everybody else's. They're points league, and everybody else's is more roto. So I wanted to keep something similar together. Didn't make any sense to include ESPN.
No.
Okay, well then let me go change that back.
All
right. Yeah.
And I just did it for the next question too. So you're already
okay. All right. Yeah. So speaking of Volpe, Howard, you just touched on him. Let's talk about him. Clearly, he's being undervalued.
Of course, he's being undervalued. So everybody's looking at that stupid batting average from last year. They have no idea. And not to mention the fact, let's face facts, if he does increase the batting average and he improves the on-base percentage, which is what he's doing, batting ninth, sure, he doesn't get as many at-bats as you want, but how many runs scored is that dude going to have with LeMahieu, Judge, and Soto hitting behind him? So he's definitely undervalued.
Yeah. Joe, agree or disagree? I would assume you would agree.
I agree. I think he's a little undervalued. I still am worried that he had a lot of swing and miss last year. So look, mechanics change, whatever. But I mean, like improving from a 209, he improves 30 points. It's still 239. That still sucks. Like that's still gonna hurt. He'd have to improve by quite a bit in order for you not to just cringe at that batting average at the end of the season. But yeah, I mean, he 2020 season, even with that batting average last year, I'll take that super late rounds. It's fine with me. Figure out batting average.
Yeah. So, I am all in. I've been doing dynasty trades all summer, buying Volpe, cheap. For where he was, I think people were waiting for another Witt type breakout when it comes to rookies, and if it doesn't happen right away, they're out on him. And he had so many different things that kind of just scream breakout. He had a higher, barrel percentage than he normally has. He was almost at 89 miles an hour on his exit velocity. His launch angle was about 14 degrees. All these kind of underlying numbers that are kind of boring just show that even though the numbers don't tell the tale, he was steadily improving throughout the season. And most important, what Howard said, he's got just studs around him. And so we are talking the exact opposite of what Witt's dealing with, right? If he gets anywhere near a base, he's scoring runs. So I just think that you're betting on pure upside here, and it's pretty safe. The floor is not awful. But again, I think that if anything, you saw the struggles last year, and you saw that he was able to kind of overcome them and build that idea that, I can overcome kind of these bad streaks. And now I think this year he's going to pay dividends. And I hate that because I hate the Yankees. But I'm in on Volpe.
All right. Okay. Well, that brings us to our favorite late round sleeper picks for the shortstop position. Let's just dive into it here. Howard, we'll start off with you as the guest of honor. Who is your favorite late round shortstop pick?
I'll take a shot on Geraldo Perdomo of the Diamondbacks. There's definitely some flaws in his game. He had a pretty solid year last year for what you were expecting from him. It was, more of a second half, surge. The 16 stolen bases. I'm a little worried about the batting average. His batting average on balls in play was just a tick under 300, and he still, only hit 246. But he does have a great OBP league. He still had a 353 OBP. So if you're in an OBP league, he's obviously a little bit more appealing. I don't necessarily know if you're going to get more than 6 to 8 home runs out of him, but if you can get 15, maybe 15 to 20 stolen bases, because Arizona was one of the most aggressive teams on the base paths last year. So,
yep.
I think that there's a good chance that Perdomo, who's now locked in as their starting shortstop, is has the potential of stealing a little bit more. So, late round, if you're just looking to augment some stolen bases, I think Perdomo's worth a look.
All
right. Joe?
Yeah, I'm going with Willy Adames here. Look, this guy's going super cheap around. I'm looking at it right now. Pick 187-ish, 190-ish. You're looking at a guy here the last few years, 25, 31, 24 home runs. Last year, the batting average dropped to 217, and I think people are just getting totally scared off by that. And rightfully so. But his expected batting average was 242. You're looking at a guy around pick almost 200, gonna knock you close to 25 to, with potential of 30 home runs. Still a great ballpark to hit home runs in. We know the offense, and the Brewers are seemingly in rebuild mode, but Adames is going to get plenty of opportunities, and he's a masher, dude. So you need some late power. I'm all in there.
All right, Dap.
I don't think anybody got knocked out as much by injuries, and frankly knocked out as much as Tim Anderson last year. Jose Ramirez helped him kind of see where he was like. I'm kidding. Look, honestly, this was hard to pick because I don't like Tim Anderson. I didn't like how he can't take a punch. But if you look at beyond that, right, and this was really hard for me to do. You look beyond that and just kind of see where he's at, right? The Dodgers were after him. A lot of different people were after him this offseason because they saw that somebody that was hampered by injuries last year. And he just looked like he checked out. After what happened with Jose Ramirez, he just looked like a completely different player. And either he aged 100 years last season, which some players do, or he legit still has some of the skills that he's always had. And I think he's in a great clubhouse now with the Marlins. He's kind of considered the leader now. I don't think anybody's going to punch him right now in the mouth. So I think overall he's going to in for a better season as long as he doesn't get hit in the face.
I want to just double down real quick here on Tim Anderson because I was actually going to use him as my guy. I found out through Bowden, who, obviously, we also know Craig Mish, who covers the Marlins for the Miami Herald. Tim Anderson was dealing with some serious personal issues over the last 2 years. Also, I don't know how much is broadcast or how much, people know. But one of the things that they were really checking in on was his mental state. And, is he going to be focused and is he going to be able to, be there? And Tim assures. Now, listen, you can't always take his word for it, but sometimes you have to have a leap of faith. And he assured that his issues are behind him. Whatever it was that was, kind of hanging him up is in the past. So, listen, if he's gonna hit, second in that order behind Luis Arias, and he's not a total, idiot, it could work.
And it's going to be, I mean, it's going to be an absolute steal if that happens. And God, Howard, I love the inside information there. I mean, all I got is your Twitter account, and I feel like I'm closer to you just by following you. But this is the kind of inside information I need.
Sure.
I just hope for Tim's sake that it wasn't a fourth grade pantsing that has cropped up in his mental state the past few years, because that can come out to haunt you at any time. I'm just saying, I may or may not be speaking from experience. I am, but all right, we'll go with
AJ. Give him a hug for crying out loud.
It's fine. I don't need a hug. I'm afraid of those too. So
I'm afraid of those too.
It'll be an ass out hug. It won't be like
exactly. One of those far reaching around.
I was like, it's okay.
Okay. All right. So I'm gonna end it out here with shocker, another former Philly, JP Crawford. He now plays for Seattle, obviously. Was traded from Philly with Carlos Santana way back in, I think, 2019 for Segura and some other garbage. But either way, Crawford, and shockingly, his ADP on Fantasy Pros right now is at 247 and change. If you take out the ESPN, like Joe's been doing, he's all the way down at 271 and a half.
Yeah, he actually goes up in ESPN, which is funny.
he's kind of the outlier here. But you're getting someone who's been pretty consistent with his K rate over the years. It did creep up a little bit closer to 20 last year after 2022, where it was down at a career high of 13.3. He's going to give you some power. He had 19 homers last year. That was an outlier as well. So maybe not expect that as much, but the plate appearances have been consistent the last 3 years. The steals, non-existent, but also consistent, 3 and 2. RBIs and runs are there. So when you have J-Rod in your lineup and you get to hit around him, I think you're going to do some good things. I do like Crawford as a late round stab. So,
hey, Howard, somebody asked this in the chat, and now I got to ask you, Junior Caminero. Where are you? Are you taking him at a draft? Like in a draft, like late round? Are you looking at all to add him to your team? Is that one of those other kind of cheap kind of lottery picks for you?
I kind of the problem with Caminero, I think, is that he's blocked by Isaac Paredes.
Yeah,
right. Like, he's a third baseman, right? And there's the Rays have no reason. I mean, obviously the Rays are small market and they like holding guys down for service time, and there's no reason, there's no incentive to trade Paredes. I mean, he's great power. So, they don't want to move, his position at all. So they want him to remain at third. So he's a guy who I'll keep on my watch list the entire time, but I don't necessarily know if I'm going to, invest in him early. I think that's probably like a waiver claim pickup. You have to see like what happens, with his like first month of the season. If he's hitting real well and it seems like he might be forcing his way up, then you might want to keep that watch a little closer there. But to open this season on draft day, I'm not going to be grabbing any Caminero right now.
Good point.
Yeah, it's hard to buy in on the youngsters for the Rays. They don't like the playing time is always an issue there.
Yeah. So all right. Well, that's all we got tonight. Howard, thank you so much for coming on again and being an awesome presence here with us for the baseball season. Why don't you let everybody know where they can find you? If they don't already, they're idiots. I'm just kidding. But go ahead, let everybody know what you got going on for this baseball season coming up.
You can find me hiding under my bed because it's thundering here and raining here in Northern California, and it scares me. Sirius XM Fantasy Sports Radio, Monday through Friday, 6 to 8 p.m. Eastern with me and Jim Bowden. You can find all my work all over at fantasyalarm.com. And also, if you're a New Yorker, well, you don't have to be a New Yorker, but if you're a New Yorker, you can grab the Saturday New York Post and find my weekly fantasy column in there. If you're not in New York, you can find that at nypost.com. That's it. Right. Oh, at Rotobuzz Guy on Twitter. Says it right here.
Yeah.
He's actually good at putting it at the screen. I suck at it.
You're kind of hitting it right there for the first time.
I know. I did this at first, so just realized how bad that was.
Yeah.
So
yeah. He just likes to stretch it out first, and then
you can do like the mirror your screen thing, but I never
throw the flower in it. Find a wet spot. It's fine.
Anyway. All right, Howard. Thanks for coming on, man. We appreciate it, man. I love talking to you, and hopefully, if we don't see you or talk to you before then, see you at the expo this summer.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, guys. Definite pleasure.
All right. Thanks, Howard.
All right. So that is it. If I actually left the slideshow, or not slideshow, whatever it is, which I didn't. I think I closed it already. No, I didn't. There it is, because I usually do. But so yeah, next week we're jumping into pitching with Mr. Nick Pollock, pitcher list.
All right.
That's a lot of fun. Love those conversations. He teaches me things that I never thought I needed to know about pitching, but I really do. So super smart guy. So looking forward to that conversation there. But yeah, again, hit that subscribe button, like button, leave those comments, and become an all access member over at Fantasy Six Pack. See you all later.
Peace.